Joining us now is the senior U.S. Senator from Iowa, Senator Charles Grassley. He is a member of the Senate's Judiciary, Budget, and Finance Committees. And Senator, thank you again for joining us here on Newsmax TV.
Oh, thank you, and I enjoy your program very much and appreciate you wanting to interview me.
Well, thank you so much. We always enjoy having you on. Well, President Obama finally got involved in talks to raise the nation's debt ceiling on Monday. He wants $600 billion in new taxes as part of those talks. What is your reaction to that?
My reaction is that we have a deficit problem not because you, Kathleen, or anybody else in this country is undertaxed, but because Congress and Washington spends too much money. And the problem is on the expenditure side, not on the income side.
Senator, in your opinion, should Republicans compromise and ever agree to tax increases? My
position is that we ought to have the taxes where they've been for the last 50 years. Now, right now, they're at 15% of gross national product. But if you took a 50-year average, they'd be about 18.2% of gross national product. And I have that as my principle.
So you're saying Republicans should not compromise at all on the issue of tax increases?
Well, another reason for explaining what I just explained in further answer to your question is the fact that the Congressional Budget Office says that if we have this level of taxation that we have right now, at the end of the 10-year period, that will still bring in more revenue than it has on an average over the last 50 years. We would get up to about 19.7% of gross national product coming into the federal treasury without raising taxes. And the way you do that is, and this is a solution to the deficit problem, because as I just explained to you, increasing taxes will not reduce the deficit because it's a license to spend more than you bring in. You get to 19.7% of gross national product. That's another way of saying if you're going to get out of a deficit with more revenue, it's growing the economy and not increasing taxes. In fact, you can argue, and I do argue, that increasing taxes, at least in a time of recession or high unemployment like this, would worsen the economy, not help it.
Senator, how does President Obama's involvement now change the debt debate? And in your view, has he failed to lead on this issue?
Well, it's quite definite he's failed to lead because he's put Vice President Biden in charge, and particularly when you're dealing with things like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and you've got to deal with those things because they're 45% of the budget. So far, we're dealing with about 12% of the budget, what we call discretionary domestic, or you got to even deal with defense to some extent. That's 19%. But nobody wants to work on entitlement reform and saving money there if the president isn't on board, because you'd just be spinning your wheels. And until he gets on board and says he's going to sign a bill, who's going to have any confidence you ought to be working on that 45% of the budget? Because you could pass something. If he vetoes it, you've got zilch. And if you want to work that hard to do it and take the political, the political problems that go with it, you want to make sure you're going to be successful. And it's got to be done in a bipartisan way.
Now, Senator McConnell, who met with the president last night, has suggested that a short-term measure to raise the debt limit might be necessary. Is that a position that you support?
I don't know whether that's a good idea or not. He's suggesting that because I think he thinks that we are in trouble on August the 2nd and like default. And I guess I don't believe that. So that would tell you that I don't agree with Senator McConnell. But I'm not going to reject out of hand exactly what he's saying for the simple reason that there is some benefit to both politically as well as economically to keeping this issue as live as long as you can. And that would accomplish that goal.
Now, Representative Ron Paul of Texas said Monday that bankruptcy could be the best solution for the United States to address its mounting debt. What is your take on that?
Well, it depends on how you come out of it. If you come out of it with a good result from the standpoint of people believing that you're fiscally and financially sound country, and we don't get a reputation of not honoring our debt, the answer is yes. But if we would end up like Argentina 10 years ago, they defaulted on their debt. It's been very bad for their country, and I wouldn't want to end up like they are.
Do you think that there might not be a compromise after all?
First of all, let's say there is big bipartisan agreement between Democrats and Republicans in the Congress and Vice President Biden on saving well over $1 trillion. Now, that's not enough to get us out of our budget problems. But it seems to me if there's an agreement that we're spending, I think, $1 6/10 trillion more than we should be spending on a lot of programs, that we ought to agree to that and move on. But they want to increase taxes. But as I said, increasing taxes isn't an answer to our problems because people are not undertaxed. Congress overspends. That's why we have a deficit.
What is your number one message right now to President Obama and the Democrats as it relates to this debt debate?
Listen to the voters in the last election. It came very clear that the legacy of debt that we're leaving to our young people is morally wrong and economically bad. And if you listen to the voters, you're going to do what needs to be done. And that is, from the grassroots of America, they're saying Congress spends too much. Get the spending down.
All right, Senator Charles Grassley, thanks so much for being here. It's always great to have you on.
Thank you very much, Kathleen.